Top strangest cars in the world. Vehicles appear in various forms and sizes. Some cars seem crafted to win awards, while others come across as if made by inexperienced individuals. Then some cars fall in between, not particularly attractive or unattractive. These cars are remarkably odd and unconventional, standing out in strange and unusual manners. Whether boasting 6 headlights or 6 wheels, these cars are famous for their appearances as much as anything else. Join us in today's video as we present the 10 most peculiar and bizarre cars ever manufactured. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get amazing content. Number 10. 1990 Toyota Serra. The Toyota Serra has a special meaning to people who grew up in the 1990s. It wasn't very strong, having a small 1.5-liter 4-cylinder engine that made 108 horsepower and 97 pound-feet of torque. It also wasn't considered very attractive. However, what made it enjoyable was opening its 2 doors. The Saleen S7 and McLaren F1 were among the fastest and strongest cars in that period. The Serra, with its 108 horsepower, had a connection to them. Toyota went a step further by adding a glass roof that looked like a canopy to the Serra. This might have been done to make it look stylish. In the 1990s, they found it interesting, but now I realize the Serra is more strange than impressive. Number 9. 2004 Chevrolet SSR. The Chevrolet Super Sport Roadster, or SSR, was a truck that could turn into a convertible with a hard roof. It was made by Chevrolet from 2003 to 2006. Some people found it confusing, and the memory of it still bothers us because it wasn't a good idea. Chevrolet wanted to make a vehicle that looked old-fashioned, like the PT Cruiser, which was selling well. They based the SSR's design on an old Chevrolet truck style from the 1940s. However, the way they combined different body parts made it look strange. Unfortunately, the SSR didn't do well. It was only available for 2 years because people found it too strange and it didn't sell. The 2004 Chevrolet Supersport Roadster SSR had specifications of a 5.3-liter LM4 V8 engine, 300 horsepower, 335 pound-feet of torque, mph 7.7 seconds, and an estimated 126 mph. Number 8. 1984 Nissan Pulsar NX. The Nissan Pulsar NX is another odd car, but unlike the Chevrolet SSR, it's an interesting kind of unusual. When you close the hatch, the Pulsar NX turns into a shooting brake model. The hatch didn't have any real use other than what was already mentioned, so you could think of it as Nissan adding a fancy touch to the design just because they could. The concept that owners could alter the appearance of the Pulsar NX based on how they felt wasn't something people missed. It has a unique specification of 1.5-liter E13 inline 4-cylinder engine, 113 horsepower, 105 pound-feet of torque, mph 8.8 seconds, and an estimated 115 mph. Number 7. 1990 BMW Z1. BMW is known for making some really beautiful cars. The BMW M1 is a great example of how German design and engineering can be perfect. However, BMW also has some strange cars, and none show this better than the old Z1. The Z1 didn't look like the typical BMW of its time. The grille at the front was too small, almost like a rat's nose. It had unusual headlights that were placed low in the hood. And of course, we can't forget about the doors that slid down into the side of the car. BMW believed they had come up with a revolutionary idea with those sliding doors, but the fact that they never used that design in their later cars suggests it wasn't as game-changing as they thought. The Z1 had some good qualities, that's for sure. It was one of the first BMWs to use a special type of back suspension, and its engine, a 2.5-liter straight 6, made 168 horsepower and 164 pound-feet of torque. This gave the Z1 a lot of power for a sporty drive. However, whether it's good or bad, people will always remember it for those unique doors. Number 6. 1986 Lamborghini LM002. Well before the Urus showed us what a powerful SUV from Lamborghini could do, the Italian carmaker came up with something quite unusual. It's called the LM002, a tough off-road truck that Lamborghini originally designed for military purposes. Over 7 years, from 1986 to 1993, they made some versions for regular buyers too. It might seem odd for Lamborghini, known for making fast and fancy cars, to create a big off-road truck. Yet the LM002 has become a special and rare kind of Lamborghini. People who collect Lamborghinis really want one, and now that the Urus is here, the LM002 sorta represents the spirit of the new SUV. But even so, the LM002 remains one of the strangest things ever made by a company famous for making high-performance cars. The 1986 Lamborghini LM002 has specifications of a 2.5-liter straight-six engine, 168 horsepower, 164 pound-feet of torque, mph 7.9 seconds, and a speed of 136 miles per hour. Number 5. 1980 Subaru Brat. The name tells you everything, right? This car is the Subaru Brat. It's a small four-wheel drive coupe utility vehicle, often called a ute in places like Australia and New Zealand. Even though utes usually look strange with their covered storage areas behind the seats, the Brat goes even further by having an unusual name. The car itself isn't very exciting to look at, and it never had an engine bigger than a 1.8-liter four-cylinder one. Surprisingly, the car fans who like having unusual vehicles have started to collect the Brat and keep it in their garages. The Subaru Brat is definitely a strange and unique car in every possible way. The 1980 Subaru Brat has specifications of a 1.8-liter four-cylinder engine, 80 horsepower, 94 pound-feet of torque, mph 10.5 seconds, and a top speed of 95 mph. Number 4. 2013 Mercedes-Benz AMG G3 6x6. Just like BMW, Mercedes has created some incredibly good-looking vehicles throughout car history, but they've also come up with some strange and unusual ones. These odd creations from Mercedes come in various shapes and sizes, including this unique vehicle. The AMG G63 6x6 is powered by a 5.5-liter twin-turbo V8 engine that makes 536 horsepower and 561 pound-feet of torque. It's very long, at 231.3 inches, and has 6 wheels. Still, the G63 6x6 can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles per hour in only 7.8 seconds, making it one of the scariest cars you can find. Mercedes introduced the AMG G63 6x6 in 2013, and they've only made a few of them available, mostly because the German company wanted to keep it special and rare. This enormous and wild vehicle is definitely one of the most unbelievable models ever made. Number 3. 1930 Stout Scarab. It did look like one. I mean, a real scarab beetle, a kind of bug you can find all over the world. It's not clear why William Stout, who created the Stout Motor Company, was so interested in scarabs that he made a minivan that looks like one, and even used the beetle's name for it. Now that it's old, the scarab is a valuable item for collectors. It wasn't the most practical vehicle back then. You could hardly see behind when driving, but its strange design helped it become famous. People don't remember the scarab as an ugly car anymore. Nowadays, it's a great example of Art Deco design. This is a nice change for one of the early minivans. The 1930 Stout Scarab has specifications of a 3.6-liter V8 engine, 95 horsepower, 154 pound-feet of torque, and a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of 15 seconds, and a top speed of 75 miles per hour. Number 2. Fiat Multipla. Many car manufacturers have tried different headlamp designs in the past, with varying levels of success. For instance, BMW succeeded with the M1's pop-up lights, while Nissan's attempt with the Juke crossover wasn't as visually appealing. Then there's Fiat, which made the Multipla with the idea that 2 headlights might not be enough to provide sufficient light on the road. Additionally, the Multipla has an elevated windshield, which adds to its uniqueness. Despite winning several design awards, the Multipla has gained recognition for being the ugliest car in the world, which has become a sort of badge of honor for the struggling MPV. Due to its reputation, you won't see many Multiplas on the road nowadays, and it's understandable that those who still own one might feel a bit reluctant about it. The Fiat Multipla has specifications of a 1.9-liter multi-jet inline 4-cylinder engine, 120 horsepower, 152 pound-feet of torque, a 0 to 60 time of between 11.8 and 14.7 seconds, and a top speed of 105 miles per hour. Number 1. 1950 BMW Isetta 300. Apart from those disclaimers, the BMW Isetta 300 is a regular car. It's technically categorized as a small car, and despite its oddness, it was quite popular in the 1950s. Back then, it sold well, with over 161,000 units sold, making it the best-selling single-cylinder car globally. The Isetta faded into obscurity until recent years, when it was featured in various publications, TV shows, and movies. This revival of interest has transformed the microcar into a sought-after classic, highlighting its position as one of BMW's most distinctive creations. The 1950 BMW Isetta 300 has specifications of a 298cc one-cylinder engine, 13 horsepower, 13.6 pound-feet of torque, a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of 27.7 seconds, and a top speed of 53 miles per hour. Tell us what you think about these cars in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.